Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Rainy Nights, the segment on my YouTube channel where I interview other motor vloggers and motorcycle personalities. If you haven't been here before, I'm Rainy Rider. I ride a 2019 BMW Grand America and a 2021 Harley Sportster. Feel free to give the channel a like and a subscribe. We have tonight Robin the Lady Biker. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey guys, I'm Robin, and I go by Robin the Lady Biker here on YouTube. And okay, introductions. I ride a 2020 Harley Davidson Road King, but I also have an '02 Fat Boy back in the US that I would have never been able to get through registration here in Australia, so we didn't ship him. But yeah, I'm a Texas girl that is currently living in Perth, Western Australia.
Yeah, I've actually watched your channel for a while, and I didn't know you were from my part of Texas. I was like, you're kidding
Oh
me.
yeah.
Yeah. So I saw that,
Nope.
yeah, she's from Texas, probably grew up there as a kid, blah, blah, blah. But talking to you, you're actually from near my city, near Houston. So
Yeah.
it's pretty wild. Hey, welcome.
Yeah, yeah. Born in Beaumont, grew up in Austin, went to Texas A&M, but settled in Houston.
I
Yeah.
should have worn my Texas A&M shirt. I was usually I try to wear a shirt that's around the people that I'm interviewing. So I had the shellback shirt. It's that's like the pirate shirt. So I figured, oh, that'll be close enough. I did not know you went to Texas A&M also because I have a sweater and a
Yep.
T-shirt from Texas A&M. I like to keep one all the time. But anyway, well, all right. So how long have you been riding? Oh, let me move my mouse because Chase says it's in the way. Thanks, Chase.
I know. Oh, hey, Gwen. Yeah, I've got my phone up too, but it's hard for me to look at multiple things. So I'm just going to talk. Um, so I started riding we've got three kids, my husband and I. And as our youngest was getting towards the end of high school, I was like, okay, we're about to be empty nesters. What am I going to do to occupy my time? And for many years, I'd said, Mama wants a sports car. And there were some beautiful sports cars out there, really gorgeous ones. But everything was like, oh, that's beautiful, but not quite right. Oh, that's gorgeous, but not that one either. But every time I would hear the pipes on a bike, it was like, huh? There's my people. And so I just went in one day and told my husband and said, oh, by the way, babe, I just signed up for the Harley Davidson Riding Academy. I'm going to get my motorcycle license. And he went, well, I guess if I'm going to see you, I better renew mine too.
Good idea.
So, yeah, so we both took the course. And of course, he passed first. Show off. But in my brain, I didn't trust, even on those little Harley Street 500s, I didn't trust that I could counterbalance the bike. And I actually failed the first time through and then had to go back a month later after working with a family friend who teaches, or he used to teach, the motorcycle police officers for Houston PD. What that man can do with a motorcycle is impressive. But he gave me some tips and some pointers, and I practiced on a bicycle and went back 4.5 weeks later, passed with flying colors.
Congratulations.
So, and then like I rode there in Houston for like 3 weeks, and then we put everything in trailers and moved to California. So I really learned to ride a motorcycle in the mountains of California. So it's kind of like, oh, look, you got your license, right into the deep end.
Well, that's how it happens sometimes. I know a lot of my friends, you did it the smart way. You went to the MSF, you started a smaller bike, and then you kind of stepped up. But yeah, I know a lot of people are like, hey, I want a bike, and they go buy a Harley, and they go, okay, now what? And then they have this brand new $30,000 bike, and they wreck it. So
quickly, usually.
It's good to step up. Let's see who we have in the chat today. Let's see. First in tonight.
Yeah, see, Des is there. Yeah.
Two Lagoon was the first one in. Congratulations. That's my buddy. Nothing at Random. Josh Harris from JD and the Queens. He was here. That's funny. Josh has been following me. So I didn't meet him until this last camp out down in Florida. And he's been in every one of my premieres. So Josh, glad to have you in here. And of course, Goon and Aaron, they're my buds. They're part of my Weirdos Assembled crew. My Pillion's in here today. My wife. My backseat jewelry. Whiskey Chaser came in. He says he's actually from Austin. So he says, hey, yeah, he's one of our Texas boys.
Hello there.
Seven's in. Your friend Gwen, Rowdy's here.
Yeah. Another friend of mine she's one of my friends from my female ride group, Glow, Barbara.
Yep,
Yeah,
I
that
see her.
lady is, yeah, she's so much fun. Oh my gosh, she's so much fun.
And Desi. Desi's been on almost all of my premieres, so and she's a friend of yours too. So yes, you were just saying
Yeah,
that, but so glad to see her. Actually, yes, I saw
she and I
you on
are
hers. That's
actually,
how I got you in because I was
yeah,
interviewing her and you had popped in. Very cool. Small world.
yeah, Des and I are going to connect here in not too distant future. So we'll talk about that more. Yeah,
Very
I just
cool.
wish I was going to be able to get out to West Texas to see Gwen. I don't think it's going to happen this run, but
Gwen, jump on that bike. You got to take a trip. I know. Yeah, I
oh
know. From being in the military, I know how tight it is when you come home and you're not really home. You're there to like maybe sleep, maybe a tenth of the time you're there because you're trying to do so many things and see so many people. And at
yeah,
some point, you just got to tag out and say, yeah, this is it. Here, I'm here. If you guys want to come see me, come see me. But yeah, I'm done. And that's after traveling
yeah,
halfway around the world. So,
oh yeah, yeah. I'm not looking forward to that flight.
oh yeah, I bet. So, all right. So you're down in Perth now. So,
Mhm.
does it rain much down there? Would you be a fair weather rider or are you a rough rider?
Oh no, I ride in any kind of weather. It doesn't matter. Oh gosh, yeah. And as I said before we got on, I am so sorry, but with the sun coming up, the light keeps changing, and I was worried about it. And I'm like, "Ugh, okay, we're gonna skip it. All right, so riding. Oh, it doesn't matter. I've got heated grips. I've invested in oh, what is it? The climb gear. So my winter gear is wet gear, but I would say it's very similar here. Western Australia, we have the summers can be up to like 40 plus, so 105 Fahrenheit, and then but the winters here are usually like 40s and wet. So they're very similar to Texas. It's just the winter is a little bit longer, and the summer, I joke when people ask me about the what the weather's like around Houston. I say, well, we have two seasons, summer and Christmas.
Yeah. Oh, I get it.
Here yeah, here they really do have four seasons, and it is gorgeous here. But when it's hot, it is like hill country hot, and then when it's cold, it is that damp cold. But doesn't matter. I've got heated grips and good winter gear and mesh gear and hydration packs. I ride.
Oh yeah, yeah. Here in Mississippi, it's the same way. I'm not used to. Like you said, in Texas, I remember going out on Christmas Day to play with my toys in shorts and no shirt on. And
Exactly.
here, it's when it gets cold. It's not that cold, but it's wet. It's
Of course, here it's weird because we spent Christmas Day on the beach. Because
that's not bad.
remember, we're flipped.
Yep, you're a quarter
So
out. Yeah,
July and August are the coldest, wettest months here.
I learned that from watching Bolt Bucket and Megromoto both. I learned that from watching their channels because she went to like what was it called, the Grampins, and I was like, oh my god, it's cold there, and it's like summer here, so it's like
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. All right, so we started about how you got into motorcycles, but you said what was your first motorcycle? You started on the 750. That was your the practice bike there, or do you actually have one?
No, the 500 was because
500.
the ones that we rode for the course and took the test on were the Street 500s that were modified for the Harley Riding Academy. And actually, my very first bike it was an older Fat Boy. It's my '02 Fat Boy, and it's got an 88 cubic inch engine. So what, about 1450 cc's. So it wasn't like going to a huge bike, but it was a significant jump up. But that bike is a special bike because it's a family bike. His name is Bob.
Hmm.
All our bikes have names. His name is Bob. And a friend actually named him, and that's a story to tell over a beer, not on YouTube.
I get it. So now I'll have to look forward to that then. So yeah, if you ever come here, I'm sure we'll have to get One Road Therapy up, and maybe someday you'll make it to the Forgotten Angels camp out because that is like the best
Oh,
place to
I
sit
want
down
to
and have
so
beers.
badly.
So
Yeah.
awesome.
But so I started on Bob. I was riding him in California. But he's a family bike. My dad owned him before me. And before him, it was his cousin that he was closer to. Since my dad didn't have any brothers, he just had sisters. He and his cousin Wilton were very, very close. And it was Wilton's dream bike. And when Wilton passed away, and it's been several years ago, the only way that his wife could let go of that bike, the Fat Boy, was if my dad bought it. And then, long story short, I got it, and that I rode him for 15 months. And I was riding with people that had, 107s, 114s. They were all in the big cruisers, the big baggers, and I couldn't keep up. I mean, my poor Fat Boy, he's working hard at about 65 miles an hour. That's about all he really has in him, unless I do a complete overhaul of the engine, which will happen at some point. So I needed a bigger bike. And I had been to Babes Ride Out in California, and I'd met these two amazing ladies, Liz and Michelle. And they both lived on the northeast side of LA. And they were getting together, and they shot out a message to me and said, hey, come join us. So I get on Bob, and I head across LA, which that can give anyone PTSD. Riding in LA traffic, just saying. But I stop about halfway there at a dealership that has now been bought out by another, and it's no longer. But at the time, it was Simi Valley Harley. And I walk in, and it was one of those where the lights shone down, the angels sang, because there sat Scarlett. And I walked up to her and said, hello, lovely. You will be mine.
So that's where you got Scarlett.
That's where I got Scarlett. I had to wait about 4 months because I didn't have the down payment. And I thought, well, if it's meant to be, she'll be there. Sure enough, I went back 4 months later, and she was still sitting there. And it was another woman I had met at Babes Ride Out who turns out was a saleswoman at the dealership. And she's the one that we worked out the deal with. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Again, small world.
It is. It really is. And then whenever we were told that we were moving here to Perth for my husband's job, he's like, well, baby, why don't we sell the bikes and just buy something new over there? I said, if that's what you want to do with Cherry, which is his bike's name, that's fine, baby. I'm shipping mine. Scarlett's going with me. So we shipped.
I think you're
my mom is on here too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just pinned that way where I wouldn't forget to come back to it.
Hi, Mom.
Now we have to clean it up. Okay.
Oh, no. My mom's my girlfriend. Are you kidding? She rode across from Houston to California to go to Babes Ride Out with me the first year. So, yeah.
Right on.
She is. That woman, even though she said she was tired of balancing a two-wheel and she's gone to a trike. But I have seen that woman just about drift that trike around a corner on the Twisted Sisters there in the Hill Country. That woman can ride.
Nice.
So it's all in the family.
Good. That's more people to ride with then. It's funny how small your world gets when you get into groups and go to these campouts and go to these meetups and stuff, and all of a sudden people you thought were nobody's around my area, and all of a sudden like they're in your area everywhere. There's here everybody's popping up. Well, I'm in Texas. Well, I'm in Texas too. Well, I'm from Texas.
Yeah. Oh, and hey, John popped in too. Hey, John is a YouTube friend of mine that he works as a boat pilot, I believe, and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, John. And but he just pops in on a lot of my videos. He's a really cool guy.
Awesome.
So
Welcome
hi,
in, John. All right. So, at what point? And I know you said that you walked in and you were looking to do something after your kids got grown up. But what actually made you go, "This is it. Motorcycling is for me. This is what I want to do. I'll never stop doing this."
Well, that really didn't happen at the beginning. Where that really made the switch for me, and I realized it was truly in my blood. I had Scarlett, and I picked her up for my birthday in late February of 2020. And we went and we rode for a weekend. And of course, like 3 weeks later, the lockdown for COVID hit in California. And come around, it was September, October. I can't remember now exactly. I needed to head back to Texas. And I did not want to fly. I couldn't. And my husband, the crazy, wonderful man that he is, says, well, take a few days and ride. And I'm like, what do you mean ride across the country solo? What are you talking about? And so we went ahead and made the plans. And I remember sitting in the driveway and I just hit the starter and I thought, what the hell am I doing? But I knew if I turned her off and stepped off the bike, I would hate it. And so I went ahead and pulled out and I took off and I rode to Vegas to see a friend. Then I rode through the Valley of Fire and down and caught up with another friend in Seligman, Arizona. And then I rode through Flagstaff and then up into Santa Fe. And then, of course, I rode around Taos and the Eagle's Nest and over to Amarillo and saw family. That was that is truly the coldest day I have ever ridden in my life. That's another story. Down into Dallas and was supposed to catch up with some other friends, but we had just missed each other, and then rode down and caught up with my mom and dad. And when I stepped off Scarlett, when I got into Houston, and I went, oh my God, that was like the most epic experience. And I've been addicted ever since. And even to this day, I'm wondering if there's any way to put pontoons on Scarlett and ride her back home instead of having to fly. Haven't figured that one out yet.
I'm gonna say, well, you never know. I mean, those guys from what Top Gear, they do all kinds of weird shit like that. So yeah, why not? It's funny you say you're the third person that I've talked to who, other than me, who's rode through the Canyon of Fire. And
I love that area. It's so beautiful.
So I flew out there in 1999. I was working for a sign company. We were putting signs in UNLV. And while I was there was like 3 days I worked, and then one day they wouldn't let me in the site because they were having games. I couldn't get in. So I was like, well, I can do whatever I want to, run around Las Vegas. So I went to, Bob Drost, Harley Davidson. Back in the 90s, he was in early 2000s, he was a big Harley guy, had show bikes and everything, did shows. And they were renting bikes, and it was like $50 a day to rent a Harley. So I'm like, okay, this is cool. Yeah. And so I took off, and it was just at the end of the day, and I took off through the Valley of Fire and asked them where to go. Yeah, go through the Valley of Fire, man. Head out that way. You'll see and come back. And I'm like, okay. So I just want to get out. And next thing I know, it's like 6 p.m., sun's going down, and it looks like the entire valley is on fire. And I tell people this.
I'm so jealous. Yes.
But the heat waves coming off the rocks and the red rock, it literally did look like from a couple of miles away.
Everything was on fire.
It looked like it was on fire. And it was so cool. So anybody out there, if you have not done the Valley of Fire, go. It is absolutely awesome. Highly recommended. 10 of 10. Chef's kiss.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's one of those. Bring us back to that on a later question, the Valley of Fire. All right?
I sure will. Okay. So who, on days that you're sitting there and you go, that makes me want to go ride. Who is it that inspires you to ride? What is it you see, or what is it that you think back on that inspires you to get out and ride?
As an individual person, there's not necessarily one single person. It's usually, for someone who is an engineer by education, I'm very creative. And so it kind of depends on who's sparking my creativity that day. Having parents that have ridden, I mean, one of my early memories from childhood is being riding 2-up with my dad on one of his bikes. Now here, both my mom and dad are, in retirement age, but they refuse to retire because I think they would get bored. but they both still ride. My dad rides a Road King. My mom has a freewheeler. Yes, we're a family of Road Kings. It's, seeing and realizing that there are people in their 70s and 80s that are still riding and riding with confidence. And that inspires me. But then I got so lucky, so blessed when I moved here to meet the Ladies Aglow. And this is a group of empowered, intelligent, amazing women and it's one of the few groups I've ever ridden with where that old saying, it's not what you ride, it's that you ride. They truly live it. We show up for International Female Ride Day is this coming weekend. And we have a ride and a moto camp out planned for it. And you're going to have everyone showing up on Harleys, BMWs, Kawasaki, Suzuki's, Hondas, KTMs, you name it, there's going to be that bike in that group. And nobody cares. And they really do take care of each other and encourage each other. It's a really unique group. And those women consistently inspire me because they, you've got the ladies that are still learning and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this. Mm-hmm. To one of my friends who drag races her street bike because she can. They're just amazing people.
That sounds a lot like my friend I was telling you when we were in the green room. I was telling you about my friend up in Ohio she has a vintage motorcycle dealership. And she runs I think it's called the Litas is what's up there. But in her little group, you'll see her videos, and she has everything from these bad girls on sport bikes, all the way to this one girl who's on a little cruiser that she wears a skirt and a dress. And they said they finally talked her into not wearing hose. Now she wears actual jeans under her dress, but she still wears a dress, and she looks like an old school librarian. And she gets out there and rides with them. So it's like, yeah, she's a legend. She absolutely cool. So I told her next time I go up there to her dealership, I want to meet that girl because she's absolutely awesome. But,
yeah.
A lot of inspiration out there if you look. I mean, it's pretty cool. Journey of Jerry just popped in. I just saw Bry, Winter Therapy, where he talked about.
Yeah, I saw Bry there for a bit.
So yeah, Aaron says Litas is the name. I'm forgetful. It's Sunday night. I'm petered out. I just quit a job, about to start another job, so my brain is fried. So sorry, John Nicole. I'm totally sorry. I totally forgot. All right. So would you rather a solo ride or a group ride?
Oh, that depends. There again, it depends on where I am emotionally, mentally. And it depends on the group. It really depends on the group. There are days when you ride because you need to be present and you need to push all the clutter of life away and you just need to ride. Those are the days I don't even have music on in my helmet. I just ride. But when it comes with groups, if I'm going to ride with a group, I either like riding with like my husband and my parents because we don't even really have to communicate. We just kind of know where each other wants to go. But if I'm riding with a true group, I like to ride with my Glow Girls because it is everyone truly does ride to, and it's not a, keep up or else. It's okay, who are the less experienced riders? Let's put them with experienced riders so that if the group gets broken up, we're not losing people who need a little, they really take care of each other. So it depends.
Very cool. So you consider riding with your husband like a solo ride because you pretty much operate with one mind?
There are times that I love riding with him, and there are times when I just pat him on the shoulder and say, love you, honey. I'll see you in a couple hours.
Excellent. I get it. All right. So what is your favorite moto meetup? Now we're talking about big meetings that happen every year about the same time, and you look forward to going to it. Which one would it be?
There is a long list of ones I want to attend. And I had every intention of hitting a bunch of them last summer, 2020 or 2022, but we moved. Go figure. But as far as the ones I've attended so far that I make an effort to go back to, it's Babes Right Out. It's Babes Right Out. So, and as a matter of fact, that's, one of the ones I was supposed to go last summer and didn't get to go because of the move, but I'm actually going to be at East Coast and I cannot wait. I cannot wait to get to that one. I've been to Borrego and I've been to Central Coast. So going to East Coast is going to be such an experience.
Excellent. I
get to meet up with some of the girls.
I can't remember if Desi's going or not. Yeah, there's a bunch of girls in this group and who will and are probably watching the video who will go. I know Parker, Chase can probably answer. I'm pretty sure Parker was going to go this year, so I'll make sure that she finds you. Gma actually went to the Babes on the West Coast because she's up in Washington. So yeah, that sounds like it's that bro. Not what would you call it? Uterus envy? Because I would want to go to something like that, but it seems like they have a lot of fun. It's.
Well, what I love about it is twofold. Motorcycling is still a predominantly male dominated environment, even though female riders, I would say if they did the statistics now, is probably 25 to 30% of all riders. It's still predominantly male. And we are only now just really seeing some changes where, like, I'm finding finally female riding gear that's not men's gear with pink or purple stitching. It's gear designed for our bodies because, let's face it, women's bodies and men's bodies are not the same.
Do tell.
I know, right? Go figure. And so when you get around a group that is just women that are true riders, we're not tank art. We're actually riders. It's a very unique environment. It's a very, in many ways, it's a very safe environment. It's just a different energy. And you see, watching the Harley games at a bro event where you see how skilled some of these women are with their machines. It's impressive. And then it's the music and it's the communication and it's sharing rides. Like, I've never ridden north of the Deep South. I've never been on a motorcycle north of the true Deep South. So getting into New York and being able to ride in the Catskills has been on my bucket list. And being able to get out and share those rides with other people who've never ridden them or people who know the area and could go, oh, that's a good route. Let me show you a better one. That's the kind of thing I'm looking forward to. And that's what's so unique about a bro event. It's just that camaraderie, that sisterhood.
Yeah. Indigo Moto told me that I was asking her what made it so attractive. And she says, if I wake up in the middle of the night and I have to go pee, I can go out there in my underwear with no bra on and just go. That's not something I can do at any other campsite. And I'm like, you got a point, I guess.
You kind of nailed it.
But yeah, I didn't ride up north until probably, so when I was stationed in Norfolk, I rode around there, but I was stationed there, rode probably within about a 50-mile range. But I never actually started making long trips into the north until a couple of years ago. So I went through Kentucky and Ohio, went through the valleys and stuff, and it's just crazy how you would think in parts of Kentucky when you're riding through them, it looks like you're in like Central America because there's valleys and mountains full of just like overgrown, vegetation. It's crazy. And the same thing going up to Eureka Springs. I mean, you're on the side of a mountain. You forget that those things are actually in America when you're raised in the South where the highest hill is like, 200 feet high.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now we get into the personal things. You got to tell on yourself. What is the stupidest thing you have ever done on a motorcycle?
Oh, you mean I've got to pick one?
You can give me multiples. We got all night. I mean, I brought something to drink. I'm good for now.
Usually when I do stupid things is when I let my irritation at stupid cage drivers get to me. And yeah, one of them was I was trying to get away from one that I wasn't sure if they were just not paying attention to the road or if they were intoxicated. But I was trying to get away from them, and I took a corner too fast. Now I'm in Ojai, California, so it's starting to transition into some of the hills around northern LA. And I go around a corner, it's hot, and the crosswalk had a wide painted strip, and it was hot enough that it lifted the oil. Yeah, and it was one of those, I knew the second I went into that curve, I was taking it a little too fast. And sure enough, my back wheel went out from under me. And my husband, who was riding behind me, said he can't believe I rode it out as long as I did. But I was able to ride I was doing the back and forth with the back wheel. And I did it long enough to slow my speed and be able to shoot into a parking lot before I actually had to go down. And it was on my bike and on Scarlet. And fortunately, the guards took all the damage and did what they were supposed to do, except for the fact that somehow one of the guards went over my right foot. And I'm so grateful. People wonder why I wear my big Harley boots. It's because somehow that bike went over my calf and shin and my foot. And I will tell you to this day, if I had not been wearing my tall boots, I probably would have either had a chunk of muscle missing or a broken foot.
Jeez. I think everybody who's been riding for a while has a story similar to that. And I know you were talking in your video earlier today about AtGat and wearing your gear and being safe.
Oh, yeah.
And I know people, I'm all for people making their own decisions, but I have had a major wreck where a doctor told me you should be dead. And the only reason I wasn't is somebody by accident. It was raining that day, and I'd wore my helmet and my gloves, my big leather jacket, and I had on steel-toe boots because they had high and really good, bottom grips on them. Otherwise, just like you say, I hit a construction truck that had galvanized toolboxes on it.
Oh, wow!
I got one of the toolboxes across my shoulder and my head, flipped over the truck, hit it again, and it looked like somebody had rubbed grape jelly all down my side. But I had boots on, gloves, the leather jacket, and a helmet. And the first thing the doctor told me when he came in is like, you should be dead. That would have killed you. And I'm thinking, yeah, all doctors say that. And then I sent my helmet to the manufacturer. It was actually a Fulmer helmet. And they're right outside Memphis here. And I had sent it to them because I said, hey, if you guys want a spokesman, I'm your guy. Well, Arthur Fulmer's niece works in the office and said, send us the helmet. We'll send you a new one and we'll do testing on the helmet. And when the testing came back, it had taken 1,200 pounds of force on the point where the gal hit, and she said, yeah, you would have went right through vegetable stage. It would have split your head in half.
Yeah.
So, yeah, helmets are the thing, and cheap helmets, expensive helmets, whatever your preference is. If it's comfortable, you're going to wear it, and it will save your life. And if it doesn't save your life, you're probably going too fast in the first place. So.
Well, I even had on Kevlar jeans, but the way everything caught, it actually ripped the Kevlar. So there was a small section on my right knee that I had, and it wasn't but maybe like that big, but I had road rash, and that stuff hurts.
But if it wouldn't have been for Kevlar, it would have ripped your skin off.
Exactly. But I'm thinking, if you get that over a larger portion of your body, that is painful. That is really, really painful. So, yeah, it may be awful to ride and hot to ride with gear, but I am a full believer. And I think it's those of us that have had those issues that are the more likely to truly adhere to all the gear all the time.
Yeah, I'll compromise some of this stuff if the weather just gets too bad that I'm uncomfortable. But helmet, always. Gloves, always.
Oh, yeah.
Some leather shoes, full leather toes, always. Those are things you cannot, and sleeves. Cannot compromise on those things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, that was probably the most stupid thing I did was let my ego write a check my butt was not ready to cash.
That's what we call a self-correcting error, though.
Yep.
That's when you pay a bill and it's small and you don't let the bill get too big. So luckily that was one time it wasn't a really expensive, bill for you body wise. And the next time it could have been. So I think that's something you learn from, and I think every
Yeah.
motorcyclist probably does do that. Luck if they're lucky, they can pay the small fee
Yeah.
and not the
True.
big fee. How about your scariest moment on a bike?
Lane splitting in on the 405 in LA. I would have to say that was, we were headed out to Joshua Tree for a weekend. And it was, and we thought, oh, we'll leave late in the day. It will have cleared out by then. No, it's lane splitting at night on the 405. Yeah, that will make you kind of suck onto the seat.
Pull a hard suction. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that one. But one that was terrifying but thrilling at the same time was riding Beartooth. And when you cross into Wyoming, the road gets all the side road. Oh hey, Bodine's on too. Hey Bob, how's it going? Um, all of a sudden the extra width of the road that you have in Washington, I'm not Washington, Montana, goes away. There's no guardrails. You're riding the crest of the mountain. You're at like 14,000 feet. And then the wind starts blowing.
Oh, nice.
Terrifying, but thrilling at the same time. Oh, I take it back. I do have one that scared the crap out of me. Where were we riding to? We were riding up to Oatman, which was part of Route 66. They're in the very eastern section, right before we get into, it was still in California, right before you get into Arizona. And the wind decided to pick up. If anyone has ever ridden in Southern California, when the wind picks up across that flat desert, it's some pretty epic wind. And that had happened. And we got off the highway. We were heading up Route 66, and we start to go around a corner. And all of a sudden, the wind, and I'm on Scarlet, so I mean, their dry weight's like 850 pounds. So fully loaded for camping and everything. I'm over 900 pounds. She's a big, heavy motorcycle. And I'm looking, and I'm leaning, and the wind is still pushing me across the lane. And I'm thinking, if I don't get out of this crosswind, I'm going to hit dirt. And of course, at the last second, the wind finally just calms and I shoot across onto the other lane. And I'm thinking, crap, I'm glad there's no oncoming traffic. And of course, then you get back and we step off, and I'm, 20 minutes later, I'm still shaking. And my husband goes, honey, are you going to be okay? I'm like, I need a drink.
The wind is probably the only rain I don't mind.
Yeah.
Storms I don't mind. Wind is just one of those things that it's not constant, so it just kind of just throws you around. It can go from zero to blowing from the left at 40, 50 miles an hour to blowing to the right at 40, 50 miles an hour. And it's probably the most tiring thing to ride in.
It is. And those who ride, because I ride with a windscreen. And so those that ride naked bikes in that kind of, or even the smaller sport bikes, I really have a deep respect for, because they get so much more battering than we do with a windscreen on our big, heavy cruisers.
Oh, yeah.
So
Absolutely.
a lot of respect to people that do that.
Speaking of scary things, Jerry says he likes my shellback shirt. This is actually a Navy shirt. It's for crossing the equator. Me and Jerry got into some conversation last night about turtles on the road. And turtles is probably the scariest thing I've ever hit in the road. And it probably wasn't even a big turtle. It probably maybe a 4 or 5 inch turtle. And it's just like in Mario, man. You hit a turtle, you're done for. It's nothing you can do. I mean, it's like hitting a ramp.
I'll have to say this. When we first moved here, I used to think that deer were the most stupid creatures about crossing a road in front of traffic. I think a kangaroo has kind of edged them out. I mean, and we had our first wild emu running across the road in front of us on our way back from Augusta a few weeks ago. That was a new experience. You're riding along, and all of a sudden, the equivalent of this huge chicken runs across the road. Only in Australia.
Surprising you say that now. Texas has emus now because of a place down it's by Beaumont. It's a place called Buna. There's a place called Masterson Ranch, and they do experimental meats. And they had a bunch of emus that they were trying to get people to raise, ostriches and emus and some of the crossbred buffalo. Well, the emus would get out because they're violent, as you probably know.
They are.
You go out in the woods to go deer hunting or rabbit hunting or something, and there's emus out in the woods, and they are absolutely as crazy as they look at like on TV.
Oh yeah.
So good Lord, yeah. So welcome back to Texas. Something else to look forward to. The Piney Woods is now full of wild emu in the woods.
I did not know that, but yeah, the kangaroos are just as stupid, if not just a little bit more psychotic than a deer when it comes to crossing a road. And I didn't know that I didn't know anything could beat deer, but I think the roos have just edged them out.
I saw a meme the other day that said kangaroos are deers who have gone to prison.
I think that's a good one. I think that's kind of spot on.
and I hear they're very mean. They're mean. They're not like the nice ones you see on TV who are like, Kanga and Roo from Winnie the Pooh. They're actually pretty territorial and violent.
They can be violent, especially the ones, it's like with any animal. The ones you have to really be aware of are the mamas that have a joey with them, whether they're still in pouch and there's a lot of them that will still have one in the pouch, but they'll have like a young one with them as well. Now, those are the ones that you really have to give them their space. But they're just like anything else. Ooh, don't need to hit the table. Is as long as you give them their space, they'll respect yours for the most part. You're not going to walk up and pet one. That's just not going to happen.
That reminds me of the people that go to the zoos and try to pet the pandas.
Don't. No.
Yeah, they're a predator. Yeah, don't do it.
You could be lunch.
Dry Heat Dog, who was also in the Navy, like I was. I was not a golden shellback. I crossed 4 times going to South America. So I was actually down on this side of the world, not the Asian side.
Yeah.
So, let's see. What's our next question is? So what has been your favorite part of riding a motorcycle?
The community, the people that you meet. It doesn't truly, in having the experience of riding in the U.S. and now riding abroad, is the motorcycle community. It's like you're instantly just family you haven't met before. And, here in Australia, they have, some of where in the U.S. it's more of a biker and rider. Here it's a biker and bikees. I mean, you still have those that are the hardcore 1%ers that you just respect, y'all. I'll stay over here and do my own thing. But for the most part, it's, and Western Australia has a very high percentage of motorcycle riders. So you can walk up and you get to a pub to have lunch, and there's, a line of bikes outside, and you sit down and someone's like, hey, were you the ones that just rode up on the 2 Road Kings? Yeah. Oh, well, and then all of a sudden you're in a conversation. And it's the people. It is the people, hands down, every time, everywhere I go. They are what make riding a motorcycle truly special.
We actually, the last Forgotten Angels camp out was called the Family Reunion, because it is like that. So yeah, you hit that nail on the head. So it's the Forgotten Angels is like nothing else I've ever been to. It's not like any other biker meetup, because when you get there, it's like going to Olive Garden. When you're here, you're family. So,
oh, that's bad. I love it.
It is absolutely cool. All right. So we're getting some questions in the chat now. Mike Pillion wants to know what made you move to Australia. Was it like Itchy Boots? You went down there to make your millions and and then retire?
No, no. My husband works for a energy company, and he works on the side of asset retirement. So when a facility has finished its end of life, and his specialty is especially the environmental remediation. And there is a field here in Australia that has hit that point, and it is in the middle of like the most sensitive environmental, what's the word I'm looking for, area in the world. I mean, they were like, okay, well, and where we were in California, they had hit a place where they had done the scope of work that was permitted, and they knew it was going to take several years to get the next set of permits. And so they're like, okay, we need to move you to a new project. Do you want to go to the North Sea, or do you want to go to Perth, Australia? And we went, Australia?
Yeah.
Yeah, there really wasn't a decision there. And so that's what brought us here. And it's, he lived in the Middle East for many years, and I lived in Germany for many years. So we both lived abroad separately. So we weren't afraid to pack up and move to a different country. And, we're just trying to embrace it for what it is. It's an opportunity to experience new people, a new culture, new places to visit. So we said, all right, So when my husband told me, he goes, honey, I did something that we may or may not regret. I said, what was that? He's like, on my internal resume inside the company, I put a line in there that my wife and I are globally mobile. I think they're going to take me at my word. And they did.
That could be cool or bad. I mean, I guess in this case it's cool because you got to, much better than so being in the Navy, I've been in the North Sea a couple of times, and that is no joke. That's not somewhere you want to live. So yeah, good move. Australia,
yeah,
good move.
Oh yeah. So as far as living, our quality of living, it's been a great experience, and we know that they are going to give us the option to extend his work visa, and we are giving that serious consideration because we love it here. It is such a great place.
Awesome. Glad for you. Mad Yankee, Mr. Martin just stepped in. Hey, dude. Talk about motivation. So that's the guy that motivates me to try to get to the gym, because he literally will post a post every day that he's going to the gym from the gym. So I'm like, dude, why he's in the gym and I'm not? I need to go. So that's my motivation. So if anybody's got questions in the comments, go ahead and put. She's watching on her phone. I'm watching on mine. So just put a highlight in and say, at Robin Lady Biker or at Rainy Rider, where it'll pop up and we'll be able to see it. I'm sorry if I'm missing anybody's questions, but yeah, it's hard to watch Robin Lady Biker and watch the chat and try to keep all my mess ups clear where you don't know I'm messing up. So
anyone who doesn't mess up is lying, or they're a cyborg of some type. So
it just gives you a chance to better yourself. Well, the important thing is when you realize you messed up. So as long as you can do that, I think you'll do okay.
Yeah.
So your mom raises this question. I kind of want to know it too. How hard was it trying to get used to riding on the other side of the road?
It wasn't that hard. Pardon me. It was harder to get used to being on the opposite side of the car than being on the opposite side of the road. And it's not the wrong side of the road. It's the opposite side of the road. It is so weird because in a car, pretty much not only are in the opposite side, but even the windshield wiper and the turn signal are switched. So I go to hit my turn signal and my windshield wipers go.
I still do that.
But it took about, I would say it took about 30 minutes to not have to actively think about it after getting on the road. And really the only time I still have a moment where I go, oh, is if I'm tired. If I'm tired, and you know how you kind of go on to automatic, just autopilot, I'll end up on the right-hand side instead of the left-hand side. And then I have to go, oh, okay, get back on to the left. But with a impending trip home, getting what my husband and I both are like, oh my gosh, how easy are we going to transition to going back to the U.S. side and on the right-hand side?
Oh,
so
that'd be very easy.
Oh, I'm sure that there will be a video about that while I'm home.
Okay, we got a couple more questions. Dry Heat Doug missed. What kind of bike is Scarlett?
She is a 2020 Harley Davidson Road King. She is a classic and beautifully chromed.
Right. So the other new bike, also red. What's its name?
The other bike, my husband's bike. Now, the one he rides is a 2018 Harley Davidson Road King as well, and mine is the Silver Spruce and Pine, and it was a special like half year production on the color. Another friend of mine that goes by, I'm blanking on Michael's Two Wheels to Survive, I think is he's a friend of mine up in Washington State. He also rides a 20 Road King, but his was the second half of the year, and it was a beautiful blue. But my husband's bike is Twisted Cherry. And then my old bike, my old Fat Boy, it was a special production year run. It's like this fire engine red that even now if I go into a dealership and need something for that bike that's on the paint, they're like, oh crap, we got to research that. Like, yeah, but he's special.
It is cool to have the special paint jobs. Although sometimes I know I make fun of Harley sometimes because like last year it seems like the only thing they knew they had were the paint jobs. But it is cool to have those cool paint jobs. Jerry wants to know.
And Harley ticked me off when they didn't put the classic or the standard or the custom, whatever you want to call the Road King. All they have is the Road King Special in the 23 lineup. They made me mad. Just saying.
Just saying. Just get that out there. Clear the air.
Yeah, I feel better.
Jerry's asking what your favorite food from Australia is.
Oh, the food here is unique because they're so close to so many Asian cultures. The Asian cuisine here is 10 times better than in the US. And it's because you can truly get the really good Asian ingredients here. So my favorite food here usually is Thai, followed very closely by Indian. However, we're really starting to play with the native ingredients here when we cook. And because it's very different. These are ingredients that you can only find here in Australia, your wattle seed, your saltbush. So we're just starting to kind of experiment with that. And that, my husband and I are talking about how we may need to do a short little series of, moto camping, but cooking in Australia when you're camping.
That would be cool.
So we may have to do that as a series whenever we're back, and he and I have a series of just camping trips he and I do. But I have to say, oh my gosh, I miss Tex-Mex. I so miss Tex-Mex. Because the Australia is very, very protective of because they've had some things in the 1800s, 17 and 1800s and early 1900s where people came in and brought seeds that were not native to Australia. And they had issues with those killing off a lot of the native vegetation. So they're very protective of what they do and do not allow in. So a lot of the peppers that are like Mexicali or Tex-Mex, that kind of Mexican food, you can't get those peppers here. And so I'm missing that kind of cuisine. So yeah, I've got a handful of things I have to do when I hit Texas next time. And that's one of them. I need some good Tex-Mex.
when I went, I went with the Navy, but we went to Sydney, and apparently we went to
Mhm.
the heavily British part because all there were sandwiches, and I didn't
Yeah.
get very explorative because I was young then. So all we did was we played rugby, we played beer, we played sandwiches, and that's it. We didn't go far from much further than that, and actually in that order. So yeah, the Australian guys, that's life. One guy told me, we're out there playing and there's all these girls watching us, and I'm like, hey man, there's a lot of girls over there. He goes, no, 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 that's number three. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, yeah. He says, rugby, beer, then women, if there's time. And they're totally serious about
I
that.
would have to say they totally had their priorities out of order.
I think in a country where women outnumber the men, I think that probably pushes women to probably you don't have to pursue them so hard. But
Maybe.
that could be just me. Got another question for you? I think it's the same question from before, but Aaron wants to know what your most awkward moment of writing is.
Well, it's not awkward for me. It's that moment when you are either stepping off your bike and you pull your helmet off and all of your hair comes tumbling out. And there's almost always a guy across the parking lot that goes, oh crap, that's a chick on a big bike. Um, every once in a while, and it's becoming more and more rare with the more women that are out riding. But every so often you'll get someone while I'm putting my helmet on and everything else, and I'll have someone come over and go, oh honey, you shouldn't mess with your husband's bike. You need to wait for him.
Oh, that's a punch.
And I'm looking at him and I go, oh, aren't you just a special kind of stupid?
um, so yeah, one of the girls in our group is probably the biggest badass in our group, and she's a girl. And Sydney, I'm talking about you. So yeah, she has I think it's LRST, and but yeah, she looks so bad on that bike. I got some good footage of her passing me when we were in Florida last time, and she just looks like she'd get off the bike and whoop your ass. She's not like that in real life, but maybe looking like that helps her out, keeps people from bugging her.
I don't know. It's I love being female. I love being I have the tall boots and the Kevlar pants that look like yoga pants. I mean, I'm a girl. I'm gonna dress like a girl, but it's always so much fun to get those double takes.
Bruiser is asking, okay, so you said you couldn't import the other bike, but what would you have to do? Was it Bob you can't import, or was it another bike?
Yes, I could not import Bob because there was a window of time for the bikes, how long you've owned it, and also the age of the bike. And Bob was right at the break point. He was too old to be imported.
Okay.
And when they register them, they test the decibels of the exhaust. And Bob has a very old set of Vance and Hines that the baffles have just rusted out, so they're basically straight pipes.
Figure that.
And he would have never passed inspection here.
Right on, I get it. I guess.
Yeah. So he was.
John's asking if you needed time to acclimatize.
In what way?
I'm not sure, John. Maybe let's call it. We already talked about driving, but did you apparently you came right from Texas, right?
No, I was. I'm from Texas, born and raised. With my first husband, I went halfway around the world at the Army, and then when he and I divorced, I settled in Houston, and that's where I met and married my husband now. Allie is, oh my gosh, he's my ride or die. Then we lived in Houston for several years, and then we were transferred to California. We lived in California for 3 years, a little over 3 years. And then we were moved here to Perth. And so even though we were so lucky that, well, very long story, but we got to spend about a month and a half in Houston, spending time with family and all of that before we actually got on the plane to move here. And if there was any, I mean, the weather here is pretty comparable to Houston, so that wasn't a big change. I would say if there was any acclimation, it would be more to the fact that we speak the same language, but we don't. And it's, little things like I went in somewhere and someone asked me for my postcode. And I went, my what? And they're like, your postcode. And I'm like, okay, look, I've only been here for a short time. What the heck is a postcode? And they're like, the little numbers at the end of your address. And I went, oh, my zip code. There's just little subtle things. Perfect example. There are some things that we think of and it's like, yeah, we're cheering for our local football team. But over here, it has a completely sexual meaning. So it's the slang. Everything is similar, but it's not. And I think that's, even after being here for over a year, I've got a thread of friends that periodically I'll pop in and go, translate for the American. What does this mean?
Bull Bucket just made a video here a while back, and I made fun of it yesterday, but he did a video called Attack of the Killer Thong, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. And he was talking about a flip-flop. So,
oh, yeah.
I'm like, what?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Anytime someone says, oh, yeah, I'm looking for my thongs, I'm turned into instantly like a 12-year-old boy with, going.
Yeah. He said, but.
Exactly.
What a mortician just stopped in. Good to see Mark in here. All right. What is our next one? Okay, so what's the most frustrating part of writing for you? I did promise we'd get carried away and get off track, and I'm glad that you're just like me.
Oh, we did. Frustrating part. One is I'm still building my knowledge of how to wrench on my own bike. And I don't have the depth of knowledge I really want. It's still something I'm working on. I think that's probably it, is I sometimes, and now and then the other side of that is being in Perth, we are the most isolated major city in the world. What we consider a close port is Melbourne. So for you in the US, it would be about the distance of, say, San Diego to Biloxi. And that's what we consider close.
Jeez.
Yeah. So that's everything here, everything here is either 20 minutes or 2 days, and there's no in between. So I think that would be it, is having things in stock here is not common. We almost always have to either have it shipped from the US or from Sydney or Melbourne. So I think that's probably it, is my still growing knowledge of the mechanics of my bike and the availability of things when we need it.
Okay. Dry Heat Doug's asking again. We may have already answered this one too, but what age did you start riding, and what got you into it? You said that was your dad's Bob. Was that it?
Well, that actually, I had signed up for the course before I found out about Bob being available again. So I just started. I was 44 when I got my license. And it was, I had all my babies. I was about to be an empty nester and needed something for my life. What was going to be the next phase and adventure to keep me busy, I guess. And that's how it all started. But no, it was, I was just a few days from taking the course the second time. And I get a call from my dad. I'll try and keep this short. My dad owned Bob. He was the family bike. And as things would happen, he had to sell Bob, but the good news was he was able to sell it to someone he knew. And Thomas owned him for about 18 months and called my dad up and said, "Hey, Ronnie, I've got to sell the fat boy, but as a gentleman thing, I know you love the bike. I wanted to give you first rights to him before I just put up a post." And my dad goes, "Dude, I just bought a new Ultra Limited." And he's like, "But my daughter is about to take the course and is looking for a bike. Let me call her." So he calls me up and he's like, "Hey, baby, I just got a call from Thomas, and the old fat boy's on the market." And I went, "It's mine," and I hung up on it. And I'm like trying to go through my contacts to find Thomas's number, and he calls me back and he's like, "Baby, you didn't even ask how much it was." I said, "I don't care, and I'm trying to call Thomas back. Bye." Yeah, and then it was, after I talked to him and arranged the price and everything, and I called my dad back and went, "Hey, Dad, since I can't get to it, could you and Mom go pick him up for me?" And Dad went, "Make me ride him."
Yeah, convenient.
And so that's how I ended up with Bob.
So Jerry is asking, is it true police will crush your vehicle for speeding? Is that a thing they do there?
Is what?
They'll crush your bike for speeding?
No, but they will impound it for 30 days. And then you have to pay a stupid amount of money at the end of 30 days to get it back.
I think that was from a video that got out that said they were trying to cut down on dirt bikes, and they were putting a steamroller over old motorcycles, and I think that's where that came from.
That it could be. Now, they are very, very serious here about their speed limits, and they will. In the areas. The good thing is they do put up where they have like speed monitoring cameras. They do have signage, so where those sections are, and you do follow the speed limit through those areas. No ands, no ifs, no buts, because they will tag you, and the fines are steep. Plus, you have points assessed to your license that don't go away for like 3 years. And after so many points, you have to put this ugly E placket on your vehicle, which means you can only ride to and from work, and that's it. And it's basically that's basically you were a bad boy or a bad girl, and now you're going to let everybody know.
That sounds very steep. I trying to remember where it was. I think it was in Germany, where the speed tickets are based on your income, and you can be a moderate income holder and get a 15 over ticket that costs you maybe $50, and if you were well off, your ticket could cost up to $200,000.
I would not be surprised about that. It's been more years than I'm going to admit to since I lived in Germany. All I remember about that,
it might have been.
All I remember is Germany and the Autobahn, and I mean, I'm in my car doing 125 miles an hour and thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is like the fastest I've ever ridden or driven." And all of a sudden, inevitably, it was a station wagon would just go woo, right past you doing over 200 miles an hour. And telling you, if that happened and you're thinking, "Oh, it's always going to be, some kind of sports car." No, about 70% of the time it was a station wagon.
That's insane. Not even a Charger station wagon, huh?
No, it was just those. Yeah, at 125, that was the fastest I ever wanted to drive.
Yeah, I think I've had my bike up to, this is in Mexico, not in America, right? Over 120 a couple of times. But yeah, that's like a few minute thing. That's not, you can hold it steady, because it actually, I know these sport bike guys do it all the time, but dude, it is weird to see things flying by you so fast you can't see them. It's absolutely insane.
Well, all I know is they are braver than I.
Too much. Well, let's talk about the new year. What are your plans for this year? Where are you going? What are you doing? You buying things? What are you doing?
Well, I am very soon heading back to the U.S. because one of my babies, and I am so proud of him, if he stays on track through his finals next week, he will graduate summa cum laude from Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
Nice.
And so we're coming back for his graduation. But because of that anchor, I'm heading to Babes Right Out East Coast, where I am going to be catching up with Des, Windward Therapy, and Stacy. I think it's Celtfire. I think is how you pronounce her name.
Yeah, she's in here. She's in there in the.
So I'll be catching up with both those ladies the first night because I'm flying up to New York, and I've rented a Road King from Eagle Rider, and so I'm gonna catch up with them that first night, and then I'm hoping. Remember back talking earlier about finding Scarlett and my friend Michelle that I'd made at the very first Babes Right Out I went to? I need to reach back out to her because she has since moved from California to Virginia. And she was planning, she was on the fence about whether she was going to go to East Coast or not. And so I'm hoping she's got her ticket because I would love to reconnect with her. And so I'm looking forward to Babes Right Out. And it's like, okay, any of you who are on the chat right now, you ladies that are going to be there, please reach out to me through IG on a message and let me know because I want to connect. I want to see you guys or you ladies. But there's that. When we get back in August, so it's going to be late August, early September. I am riding from Perth across Australia to Sydney for a Aussies content creator moto meetup. And then I'm going to take my way back down through Melbourne, Adelaide, and then ride my way back. So that's going to be probably a good 25 day plus or minus trip.
That's awesome.
And then, of course, I've got, several places here I'm going to be seeing, different places in Australia I want to visit, so many to mention. But in February of 2024, my husband and I, we're going to Tassie. So we're going to fly across. I think we're going to rent bikes. We were thinking about possibly trailering our bikes across, but I think it's just because of his time for vacation time, I think we're going to fly and just rent and keep it easy. And then we're taking the Spirit of Tasmania boat. It's kind of like, think a ferry on steroids. We're going to take that across. We're going to spend 5 days with a bunch of content creators here in Australia. So Throttle Down Under, Harley Throttle Juice, Big Bert Tasmania, a whole host of others that I'm sure I'm forgetting like 80% of them. But we're going to spend 6 days riding in Tasmania.
Do you follow Mad Girl Moto? Ebony?
I think I do. I need to look.
She's in Tasmania.
I think she's part of it. I need to go back and look because I haven't connected everyone's like real name with their YouTube name 100% yet because there's a lot of them that I haven't met really. So I'm really looking forward to that. But then the big one, the huge one, and this is a little bit terrifying because of the scope of this trip. But in 2024, in September of 2024, I'm bringing about 20 of my Glow Girls back to the U.S. to attend Babes Right Out, East or West Coast. And then we're going to spend the next 12 days after that riding the Southwest of the U.S. So I'm bringing the Aussies to the U.S.
Make sure you hook up with GMR Rides. She's up in Seattle, and she's always said if anybody goes to her house, she'd put them up and cook them food. So she's in the chat right now. So
would love that. I'm not sure we're going to get that far north. Right now, the current look is, taking them, of course, up. They've got to take them up through Malibu and a little section of the PCH there in Southern California. And if everything stays on track, we'll be West Coast will still be there in Santa Barbara, which is my old stomping grounds. So I'll get to show them all these beautiful back roads. Then we'll be heading out through the Sequoias. to Vegas, and we're going to spend a couple of days there. So those that want to ride the Valley of Fire, I'm going to take them out through there. Going to take them over around Zion and Bryce Canyon, the Grand Canyon, take them back along through Route 66, through Palm Springs, up through Joshua Tree, across Death Valley, if we can get there at the right time of day and year so that we're not dying.
What a Justin stepping out. Let me tell him goodbye real quick. Mark, thanks for stepping in.
Thank you. I appreciate you being here. And so it's gonna be an epic trip with those girls. And and the sad thing is the media right now is only showing the ugly parts of America. And I'm really looking forward to showing them that there are some amazing people in the U.S. and we've got some amazing country, and sharing with them the good parts of our country. Yeah. So at least a little nugget of the good of our country, instead of just all the negative that the international media shows.
Well, in Bolt Bucket, he's from Adelaide, and he came to visit, and he did a American tour. I think he was here for like a month and a half. But he said he couldn't believe that you could actually go into a gas station and buy a knife. Or go into Walmart and buy a gun. He's like, really? This is legal? You can do this? And they're like, oh yeah, you can do this.
Depends on the state. Yeah. But it's just a different culture over here as well.
All right. So I know you're a Harley girl, but
yes,
if someone else was to come out of the MSF and they took the advice of get a small bike, learn how to ride, and then move on to something else. Now they're ready to move on to something else. What bike would you recommend they get?
I've been asked this quite a bit, is, what bike would I recommend? And the beautiful thing about having so many makes and models of bikes is there's something out there for each of us. One of my good friends here has a Kawasaki Vulcan that she adores. And it is the perfect bike for her. And, like my Road King, it's the perfect bike for me. It really, you just have to spend the time going to different dealerships, different places, sellers, and just sit on the bikes, take a test ride, because there's always going to be that one bike that just makes you go, oh, this is it. This is my bike. And that's going to change as your riding style, your riding adventures, your skill level, what fits you when you've been riding for a year and what fits you when you've been riding for 15 years are going to be different. Yeah. So, I tell people you can't go off of, well, just get this bike, bike X. You really have to spend a little time and find the one, because if all you're going to do is ride in town and stay within 50 miles of your home, a big cruiser bike is not the right bike. But if you're going to ride across the country, a Ninja 250 may not be the right choice. It really just depends. And you have to take that time and find the bike that speaks to you.
Totally understand. Yep. When I was working close to home, the Harley was great. Uh-huh. The Sportster was great to ride to work because it was 10 minutes away. When I changed jobs and it was 45 minutes away, I went back to the BMW because now I've got almost 2 hours on the road every day. So totally understand that one.
Oh, and the other one is, I can't tell you the number of people that have looked at me, women who have looked at me and said, oh, I can't ride a big bike like yours because I'm a girl. And I'm like, what am I, a duck? Find a bike that speaks to you and then modify that bike to fit you. Like, my bike with Scarlett, I put new shocks on her because I needed a different height of shocks. So, I'm running Legends on my bike. I bought a new seat because a stock seat was too wide and set me too far back. So I have a Super Reach seat it's a little more narrow, and it has me sitting forward on the tank. Changed out the hydraulic clutch because the hydraulic clutch on the 2020 models didn't fit my hand. So now I've got it where it's in the right section for me in traffic to run a friction zone. Get a bike and modify it. I had to cut my windscreen because a 20-inch Harley windscreen that comes on a Road King Classic was too tall. So I had it cut down to 18. Modify your bike and then practice the hell out of it.
Absolutely agree. So if you could go anywhere on a motorcycle today, starting from anywhere, going to anywhere, where would it be?
Oh, I got so many. I'm about to do one of them. I'm about to ride across Australia. I'm going to do that one. Check that bucket list. I want to go to India and ride in the Himalayas, but I want a Royal Enfield for that one because that bike was designed to ride in that part of the country, and it's the perfect bike for it. I would want to get very, very comfortable on a ADV bike. Come on, Harley, make a smaller Pan Am. Come on, make a smaller Pan America, because I might buy a second bike if they did that. And then I would want to go and ride, pretty much start in Alaska and ride all the way down to the tip of South America. I want to get back. I want to get on a Harley and go ride back again in the Alps of Europe. I would love to ride in the Alps in Austria and Germany, France, Switzerland. That would be epic. ADV bike and ride down the Nile in Egypt. I would adore that.
That does.
So yeah. Small dreams.
So Barbara's asking, explain the reason blokes shouldn't sit on your seat. And I think you go first. I remember someone else talking about their bike and their seat and a name they gave it. But go ahead.
Well, my seat is specifically designed for small women. And as a woman, I'm 5'6" tall, so I'm not a small woman, but I am smaller than what most Harleys are designed for. They're designed for a 6 foot something, over 200-pound guy. So, being significantly smaller. So the way my seat is designed, it's very U-shaped, like an old Western, like old Spanish Western saddle. And I have to warn the guys, remember, my seats is a custom seat because the guys sit on it, and it's not pleasant for you gentlemen because it mashes things more than they should be mashed.
One of the guys in the group, his girlfriend rides, and she has her own bike, and she calls the bike the penis puncher because she has a contoured seat. So it's
I tell the guys. It's great because it puts me right on top of the tank. It almost puts me in the same position as police officers, but instead of sitting above the tank, I sit truly on it, on the very back of the tank. So it puts me in the very center of gravity of the bike. So I have more control at my size over my big bike. But yeah, if a guy sits down on it too quickly, there will be soprano in their future. Yeah.
Thanks for the warning. If you ever come by.
Yeah.
All right. Have you inspired anyone to ride or wrench on their own bikes? I know you said you're just learning how to wrench on yours, but have you inspired anybody?
I get a few messages from women from time to time, especially in some of my older install videos, that they were afraid to do anything on their own. And seeing me do it gave them comfort that, yeah, they can do it. And, but the one that my mom talks the most about, that she had taken the riding course before I signed up and didn't feel comfortable, and for a lot of different reasons, and decided, okay, well, I'm just going to be a passenger. I'm just going to ride 2-Up. And once I got my license, she went, well, crap, I've got to do it now too. So my mom got her license just a couple of months after I did. And she said that had I not gotten mine, she would have never finished hers.
That's pretty badass.
And so it's kind of like, thanks, Mom. And, it's, there's some of the ladies in Glow that I did we had an opportunity to take a training course, and it was specifically emergency procedures and slow speed skills. And I wanted to do it because I hadn't done any slow speed training in about a year and a half and really wanted it just to refresh my skills. And so I'm here at this training course, and I've got this big bagger, and everyone else there had, the smaller. Here in Australia, the first 2 years you have your license, you have to ride a 650 or smaller. You cannot legally ride anything larger. And so they're all either just returning or they're new riders. And so they're on these little small bikes, and then I'm on my big one, and we're practicing weaves and emergency braking and all of that. And I'm doing it just for refresher. But I step off of after the riding portion of the training, and I had a couple of the ladies come up to me and go, that was the coolest thing I've seen in a long time. I was getting scared and wondering if I should quit, just give up on finishing my license. And I'm like, no, finish it, get your license. But it blows me away anytime someone says that, because, I do so much of this because it brings just pure joy for me. And, so when someone shares that with me, it's mind blowing, and it's very humbling to realize that being a rider, you can encourage and inspire others. But it's not what I set out to do. I just set out to ride, so it's very humbling, but it's also very gratifying.
For those of you who are missing this in the chat, her mom was 68 when she got her license for the first time.
Yeah.
So,
and let me tell you, that woman, and like I said, even though she's gone to a trike, because she said she didn't want to have to think about balancing. She just wanted to get behind the bars and ride. So she's there again. She found the bike that fit her. And she's ridden it across the U.S. I have seen her ride some on the PCH. I've seen her ride the Twisted Sisters in Texas. I've seen her ride some very difficult roads in South Texas, or around Big Bend and up around Sedona, Arizona, and all of that. And that woman can freaking ride. So, anyone who says, oh, well, I can't ride anymore because, I'm getting too old. Bullshit. Find the bike that makes you happy, that lets you stay in the wind. And, I want to see women in their 90s still riding.
When I lived in Arkansas, the craziest group I rode with was the Going Bikers. And the group was called Bubba. It was called the Bud Ugly Bikers of Batesville, Arkansas. But they were an old going group, and they would take these. If you don't know about Batesville, it's in a crater, and it's on the side of hills, and there's lots of overlooks and lots of cliff hangs, and they're tearing through these hills. It's like 40-mile-an-hour curves. They're going through them at 70 or 80 miles an hour, and I'm on my Honda Sabre, a nice Honda Sabre, and they're lapping me. They're taking off without me, and I'm like, well, good luck to them. Bye.
See you later, boys.
Yeah. So age does not stop you. I mean, I think a motorcycle is a great equalizer because it doesn't take a whole lot. It's all technique. There's no muscle involved in a motorcycle. It's all technique.
It's skill.
Yeah. So they left me behind. Here I am with, at that time, 20 years of riding experience, and these guys in their 70s and 80s leaving me. So don't let age stop you.
No.
If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe, throw some comments into the chat. Let us know when you're there. If you're just watching silently, that's okay, but we really like to hear from you. If you got any more questions, throw them in the chat. If you could tell a new rider one thing you had to learn the hard way, what would it be?
Trust yourself. Because I didn't pass my MSF course the first time because I did not trust I could counterbalance a bike. And it wasn't, as you said, it was a skill. It wasn't my inability. It was my brain. You have to get out of your own head, and you have to trust that not only can you learn the skills, you can do the skills. I was shadowing a lady who is trying to get in Australia. You get your basically your learner's permit, and you can ride on the streets with your learners or your L plate as long as you're riding with someone who has their license already. And then once you get that, you get your RE license, which is a 750cc bike or smaller. Oh, sorry, 650cc or smaller. And you have to do that for a minimum of 2 years. And then you get your L plate again to ride a bigger bike. And I was shadowing a lady who was going, now on her small bike, she could do anything with that bike. She had a 650 V-Star, I think, which is a great bike, by the way. But she had just gone up to like a 1250 Harley. And she was trying to do U-turns, and she wouldn't counterbalance it. She wouldn't, lean against it. And she's like, I'm afraid I'm going to drop it. And I'm like, okay, so what?
And then what? Yeah.
I can teach you how to pick your bike up. She's like, but what happens when you drop your bike? I said, I pick her up. Anyone who says they've never dropped their bike is either brand new to riding or lying through their teeth. Everyone has dropped a bike at least once. And so what? You drop it, you pick it up, you dust yourself off, and you do it again. And so we talked a little bit about that. And so for her, it was just getting out of her head and getting herself to trust that she could, like me, balance those big bikes. That's it. Just trust yourself and then practice.
Bruiser's asking, so when you got to Australia, did you get to circumvent the licensing requirements by having a U.S. license?
There are, because of how long I'd held my license in the U.S., everything converted over. So there are certain countries, like pretty much all of Europe, U.S., Canada, New Zealand. I'm blanking. There was a list of like 10 countries that if you'd held your license for a certain period of time, you just had to prove residency and you got your license. And I met the requirement. I'd held my license long enough. However, there are other countries that you would have to take the written test before you can get your license. And then there are a handful of countries that you're starting from scratch. And you just had to, it's like anything coming to the U.S., you just have to get on the website and find out what the requirements are in the state you're living in
and figure it out.
Some convert straight over and some don't. But the U.S. and Australia, as long as you've held your license, I think it was for a minimum of 5 years. It was a complete, just a straight conversion.
Yeah, I think so. When I got my license for Kuwait, I had to do a sign test. That was the only thing I had to do.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much you still because it's a very influenced country. All the road you drive on the right side of the road. All the roundabouts go in the same direction. The only difference is they have weird stripes and color codes on their streets, on their city streets, and they have weird signs. So you get to learn those things, and some of them were like a black and red dotted curve with a black and white dotted curve, and then a white and yellow dotted curve all means something different, and you've got to figure those
Oh,
things out
yeah, that would be a learning curve.
because signs get blown down a lot, but the colors on the streets, basically that's
Yeah.
how they mark their loading zones, their speed limits, their inner city, their outer city, unlimited speed. And so, yeah, signs are dumb there. If they've got a sign, it's usually going to be a very large sign that won't blow over in the wind. So speed limit signs
Yeah.
just don't make any sense.
Huh.
What's one thing people may not know about you?
Well, I started my work life as a chemical engineer and then did that for a few years and was a stay-at-home mom. And then when I went back into it, I didn't want to do that again. So I went into the fitness industry. So I've got a very eclectic work life background.
I like
And
that
now I'm on
word.
YouTube.
Now you're on YouTube. That's cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
it pays to have a diverse background because you can pretty much fall back on anything,
true.
and that's what I tell people. Okay, so we're getting to the end of here. If you guys got questions, throw them in there. If you could go buy a bike right now, any bike, but you had to own it for the rest of your life, you didn't have to ride it every day, but you would have to own it for the rest of your life, what would it be?
It's not in production.
Okay. Oh, so
I, would-
it's probably
I would want to, I would want a CVO Road King.
okay. I was gonna guess something else, and I would have been wrong. But okay,
What were you going to guess?
I was gonna guess the new Buell Cruiser.
Nope. It would be the Road King, but a CVO. And if that was the one that I had to, now, like I said, I bought my Fat Boy and I haven't sold him. And Scarlett, we shipped her over with the expectation that I would ride her and ride her and ride her and sell her whenever I left here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. She may get shipped back.
You do what you gotta do. Yeah.
But that's how I am with my vehicles. I don't think I've owned a vehicle. There's only one vehicle I think I owned for like 2 years. But typically I buy a vehicle and then I keep it until it's no longer dependable. So it's common for me to own a car for 10 plus years. So why would a bike be any different?
Yeah, it's funny what you get attached to sometimes. You're like, oh, here's a good temporary, blah blah. I'll never get rid of it. And then when it comes time to get rid of it, you're like, I really don't want to. I'm gonna own this forever.
Yeah.
It's like a
Yeah.
comfortable pair of shoes. It's like you just can't get rid of them. You
Yeah,
want to
you
keep
just
them
keep
forever.
getting resold.
Yeah. So flip side of that same question, what bike would you ride just once, knowing you could never afford it or ride it again? Once you got off of it, you could never get back on it.
Oh, I don't know. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. It would have to be one of those, and they've got one similar to it that they put on display at Perth Harley Davidson here in Perth, and it is one of those really elongated like drag strip bikes.
Oh, the Dominator.
Yeah, that would be it. On a straightaway, one time, all out, leaving rubber at the starting line, that would be it.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Juice just came in. I'm glad we went so long because Juice wouldn't have been able to get in. Another one of our
Hey!
weirdo buddies. We're having a weirdo camp out in 3.5 weeks up in
Oh, nice.
northern Tennessee. So we're gonna have fun. It's gonna be fun. The Loretta
There's a
Lynn TMMR is like and not far from it. So basically, we're going to the TMMR, but we're actually going to be at a campground somewhere else.
Okay.
So that's going to be our weirdo camp out.
I've got a couple of YouTube friends, Bronco Ride, who just moved to that area, and Ty from Tennessee, that are there. That if y'all haven't connected with them, y'all need to reach out to them.
Ty from Tennessee, I think he's been in a couple of the other chats I've been in. Not he's, I don't think he's been in any of mine, but I've gone
Yeah,
into chats before and he's been in there. So, and I think he does go to the Weirdo or the Forgotten Angels camp out also.
yeah,
So I'm
they're
absolutely
just
sure he
great
does.
guys.
Somebody's asking me if I have tried to talk you into going down to the Forgotten Angels camp out yet, and I have, but yeah, that's far for you right
Would
now.
love to. I would love to, but we've got, whenever we're in the US, we have got so many things, okay.
Oh, I get it.
All three of our kids are moving while we're home. We're basically flying home to move all three of our kids into different apartments. We've got, just a lot of different things going on. And then, seeing family. Um, yeah, I got to make time to get on the bikes and go ride the Three Sisters while I'm in Texas with my parents.
Well, since you're a global traveler, there may be some time in the future that you may come
Yes.
back. So
Oh, yeah.
we'll keep our fingers crossed. I love meeting
Yeah.
people, and it's cool meeting them online like this. But then when you go to these campouts and stuff, you get to meet them in person. It's a totally different feeling. So
Yeah, I'm wanting to plan, and unfortunately, it probably will be like 2025 when I plan it. But I want to come back to the US during like the June, like late May to right like 4th of July. And I want that time frame to do nothing but just tour and hit all of there's so many different events that I just want to go, okay, I'm going to plan this loop so I can hit all these different campouts.
then yeah. So the weirdos, our weirdo in chief there, Goon, he'll have to figure out a camp out for that time when you're here. So yeah, we'll definitely stay in touch. But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
we'll definitely set something up for when you're here. What is your toxic trait?
Well, that's a hard one because you have to really think about the things that you are not that great at.
I think it's not something that you're not great at. I think it's something that you are very natural at, but other people go, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this again." It becomes just very natural to you. I think mine
Um,
would probably be I'm a social butterfly. So some people think that's a great thing. Some people think that's a very off thing. But what is it for you?
Maybe I don't have enough. I don't have as strong a sense of self-preservation as I should, because I'm riding across Australia solo, and there's one section, and it's called the. My Aussie friends will probably laugh at my pronunciation because my Texas comes out, but the Nullarbor, it's 760 some odd kilometers with not you. I mean, you're riding along, and there's like one fuel pump on the side of the road with a card reader, and that's all you're going to find for like 200 kilometers. So yeah, and I'm like, ride that solo, not a problem, let's go.
That does
It's
sound like a nightmare.
yeah. So I think if that's it, it's probably not a strong enough sense of self-preservation.
Um, I remember seeing Itchy Boots, and she had been through so many places where they said, "Oh, it's dangerous, don't go. Oh, it's dangerous, don't go." And she was cautious at them, and then she would do them anyway and go, "Well, it wasn't that bad. Everybody told me it was bad." And then she started to go through northern Mexico, and she goes, "Yeah, everybody tells me it's dangerous. I don't believe them. They always tell me everything is dangerous." But that was one place that actually was dangerous, and she was
Yeah.
scared at quite a few times. So yeah, sometimes the reputation is kind of embellished, but sometimes it's well deserved. So be careful out there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's making the plans, making sure I've got I've got octane boosters. So if I need, if they don't have the right octane, I've got a fuel. I know I'm not going to have issues with that while I'm riding across. It's carrying extra fuel. It's
Water.
Making, oh yeah, lots of water. I've got my hydration packs and my water bladders for when I'm camping that I'll definitely be taking. But it's also things like I'm looking into having some type of GPS locator that is based off satellites and not cell service. So that, you know, if Allie doesn't hear from me at my check-in time, he can go on and he can at least see where I am. So someone can find me, even if I'm out in the middle of the outback and there's no communication.
Yeah, I always bring two. So on a trip, I'll always have my TomTom, but I'll always have my phone. And
Yeah.
one of them always gets connection. So as far as the Outback, it
Yeah.
might be a little bit different, but yeah, but the TomTom is satellite connected, not cell connected. So it's a different thing. So even if it gives you a rough view, you still know you're going north. You still know you're going toward a city. It may not be exact on your location, but you're still going to get there.
Well, it's not so much that because there are sections here that you'll go like that riding across the Nullarbor. It's pretty much straight road. Just keep the sun in front of you in the morning and behind you at night. Or vice versa, depending on which direction you're going. That's not so much the issue. It's more of if I have some kind of mechanical issue, you may not see anyone go past you for hours. So it's making sure that I've got a way that if I drop out of communication, someone can still find me.
Right on.
So,
All right. My last question for you, but then you'll have some questions for me. What is the one thing that you will never take a road trip without?
there again, long list. I'm trying to think of my top one.
It can be a few. You could have a kit. That's fine. Whatever group of
Yeah.
things that you will not get on the bike without.
Um, basic tools. Now, I'm the kind of person that if a Phillips screwdriver, a wrench, or a zip tie can't fix it, I'm taking it in. Because that's about the extent on this. But it's crazy to me the number of that'll hold me to the next town where there's a mechanic. How many times I've used a zip tie?
Yeah, a zip tie, a pair of pliers, and a screwdriver will get you out of a lot of tight situations.
Exactly. So that water on my bike, first aid kit, basic first aid kit. Um, and a tire gauge. Yeah. Those are things that I will not pull out of the garage without, period.
Yep, I'm big on first aid kits and toolkits. We're actually trying to raise. I don't know if you've seen it, but we have what's called the Boo Boo unit for Forgotten Angels, and we're going to other campouts now. It's me and Parker the Coyote. I'm military medically trained. I'm the EMR. So when we go to places, people get burnt, people get cut, they come see us.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get an actual kit together where we can have everything we need to go to these campouts because yeah, it's something that nobody ever thinks about. Well, I'm not going to get hurt, and then all of a sudden somebody falls in a fire. Or twice now we've had people slide off of a bike and sit on the muffler. Twice now.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's been bad both times. It's as bad as it sounds.
Ow.
So
Oh
yeah.
gosh. Light changing, my computer's having a tough time with my lighting.
Oh, that's fine. We're almost done. So, do you have any questions for me?
What got you started doing these interviews here in live streams here on YouTube? What inspired you and what made you go, yeah, I'm gonna do that?
Forgotten Angels. So two campouts ago, I was going around and I love filming because I love people. People are very interesting to me. So I started with little small interviews, and I would go around and ask people, well, where are you from and what do you ride? Oh, tell me about your bike. And some people were like, oh, well, I'm so-and-so. I ride this, and this is my bike, and I'm from so-and-so. And it was really short. But some people were like, oh, yeah, I'm at Forgotten Angels because I love this place, and they do so much, and they inspire me, and they did this, and I knew this guy, and this inspired me. And so back when I was a kid, this was this. And it literally turned into, Aaron, I'm talking about you, by the way. I had a 30-minute interview almost with Aaron, nothing at random, over where are you from and what do you ride. So I'm like, this is great. I need to do this more. So I started interviewing people. Bring them on, ask them a bunch of formed questions, and again, you find out things about people that you just never knew, things that motivate them. And if you find out what motivates someone else, that'll motivate somebody else. And so just from that, I've gotten such a huge, I've gotten a huge positive response from these interviews. So I'm hoping it's something I can do forever. I hope I can just keep finding, and I know they're out there, but I got to find these interesting people who have interesting stories like you and like Aaron and Jerry's going to be, coming on. Hell, like there's people in here I haven't done. Dry Heat, Doug, Paul Beersley. I'll get everybody in eventually because everybody has
Yeah.
an interesting story to tell, and I want to know it. So, but
Yeah,
that's what got me started.
I would definitely want to see the interview with Paul because I've seen him pop in and out over the 2 years I've been doing this, and just an interesting person.
Cool. Your mom's asking about Forgotten Angels. So this is my spot. So Forgotten Angels is a an organization down in Florida for kids who've aged out of the foster care system. And if at first glance you wouldn't think that's very much, but the foster care system basically pays people to just keep kids until they're 18 and doesn't take care of them after that. Sometimes they're very well taken care of by these foster families, but a lot of the time they get taken into group homes. They're cared for till they're 18 and then kicked out, you know, on their 18th birthday. A lot of them. So these families that do this, they don't teach them how to do things like look for a job, fill out a resume, how to dress for an interview, how to get their driver's license. They don't even help them with their homework. So when they get to Forgotten Angels, they have zero life skills. They don't know how to write a check, have a bank account, look for a job, nothing. So Dave and Cindy out there actually act like their parents and teach them all these skills. Junior is my favorite story. The sheriff found Junior on the street the night of his 18th birthday. They went in at midnight and said, "Hey, we can't take care of you anymore. We got to have your room ready for somebody else tomorrow. Get out." So they gave him a grocery sack with,
Yeah.
yeah, they gave him a little plastic grocery bag with underwear in it and a pair of socks. I think is all he got, maybe a T-shirt. And that's when he was walking down the streets of Tampa. I think they said they found him at like 3 or 4 in the morning, walking down the streets of Tampa, and that's all he had. So, and he is probably the most motivated individual. He had been there now. I think he's been there for 2 years now. But he moved out, got his own place, has a job. But he comes back to actually help other kids now. So when they get him there,
Yeah.
not only do they teach him these skills, but they teach him how to build. So one of the guys, I'm going to get him next week. It's Shelby Daytona. He will actually teach these kids how to work on their motorcycles, how to work on cars, how to keep up the grounds, how to do things like plumbing, electrical. They build little tiny homes out there and they live in them. And when they're done living in them, they can sell them and that's their down payment for a car, for an apartment, for a place to live on their own. So it's an absolutely awesome place. So when you go, be prepared to be blown away at what this place
Yeah.
does. So, yeah, that's your warning. But it's so awesome out there. And they have a
Yeah.
raffle twice a year, and they raffle either bikes off or cars, or through the year they auction off small things. This year is a huge thing. They're trying to raise a huge amount of money, and they're actually giving away a home in Florida. So,
Dang.
but yeah,
Now that sounds like such an amazing uh and I don't want to use the word charity. This is truly a ministry in many
it
ways.
is. It is. It is. It's very faith focused. I mean, the guy that owns it, he's a biker. Don't get me wrong, man. But the guy that runs it, he is very religious. He's a praying man, and they believe in the higher power, and that's how they get things done. To go from basically going to different organizations in different industries, just trying to basically beg for money and donations, to grow into what it has, where they can be self-sustaining and be able to actually give away prizes for raffles, which is where they make the most of their money. Um, it's awesome. It's grown into an awesome thing. So, and I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm glad to go down there every year, and I'm glad to throw it out on my description and put it in the videos because it's just an awesome thing, and it just makes you feel good to be helping.
Yeah. That's amazing. Um and of course I had like a couple extra things and I've completely forgotten them
I'm
now because I
sorry.
didn't write them down. No, that blows me away. I knew there were a lot of different things I wanted to be involved in. Like oh gosh, what is it? There's one coming up soon that's going to be at K River there in is it Arkansas?
It's in it's the Stubborn American, um,
There it is. Yeah.
and it's
But
in
just
Oklahoma.
different, yeah, different things coming up, that are, a chance to connect with other riders, other bikers, but it's also the chance to give back in a way. And, that's there again. You asked what I love about motorcycles and motorcycling. You just defined it right there. It's the people. So, one more question, and then I know I'm going to have to start winding this down because I'm supposed to get on a call with my kids soon. Turn it around. You have your magic purple crayon, and you unlimited money, unlimited time, no restrictions. What would be your epic motorcycle trip?
Oh wow. Riding all the way Route 66 and then going all the way up to the Pacific Northwest. Because going through the Grand Canyon, going through Beartooth, going through what was the other pass up there? But yeah, all those places, all the way from New Mexico, Arizona, California, Washington, Oregon,
Yeah.
all the way across the Dakotas, the Black Hills. Um, that's again seeing scenery that I don't see in Texas, in Mississippi,
Yeah.
and in Tennessee. You got a lot of cool roads in Tennessee, a lot of twisties, a lot of back roads and forests and stuff. But you don't see these wide open deserts and these wide open plains and gigantic
Yeah.
canyons. So that's the kind of things I want to go to.
Having ridden a few of them and ridden sections of Route 66 and ridden across mountain passes and riding, it's Highway 12 across Idaho where you see the sign that says windy roads next 99 miles. Epic. You're right. There are times where you ride. There's something majestic about riding through the forest, those thick forests with the twisties that you get in the East Coast, or in Tennessee and Kentucky and all that area. However, when you are sitting there on a pullout on Beartooth and you've got Yellowstone laid out truly as far as the eye can see, and then you look back at Montana and it's very humbling.
Absolutely
So
agree.
I would encourage you to do that.
And I want to.
You
Yeah.
need,
When you look out and see God's country from the top of a mountain, that's humbling. Even it echo, or there's a place on the way up to Eureka Springs called the Tea Kettle, and when you look out on it, you're looking at the entire Arkansas Valley, and you can see for like 30 miles, and it's
wow.
crazy because you don't realize how high you've been riding until you get to an overlook and look out, and then it's like, holy shit, I'm high. I'm way up in the
Yeah.
air. So yeah.
Oh,
It's
the
really
Ozarks are
cool.
still on my list. I want to go ride those so badly.
Oh, well worth it. I would say there's four ways to get to Eureka Springs. I'd say do not take the southerly route. If you
Okay, fair enough.
if you're used to, well, I rode it on the big K16 with a fully loaded bike with my wife on the back. So those 10-mile-an-hour curves with no guardrail, with a road that went straight down into the canyon, into the valley, were a little intimidating, especially when there are
Oh,
UPS
now I've
trucks.
got to ride it.
There were UPS trucks coming around the corner and 18-wheelers with long trailers taking all of your lane. And there was one
Oh,
point on a 10-mile-an-hour curve I had to go. uh, the white line was under my boot. I was the other side of the peg was all the way down into the valley. I don't know how I made it around that thing without going off into the canyon. But
wow.
yeah, it's a hard stopper. And then we went the other way and it was fine. The slowest curve was probably 20 miles an hour. But that's definitely a technical ride. You probably wouldn't have any
Okay.
ride with it. In one up, you wouldn't have a problem with it. But man, that's it definitely worth doing again. But next time I do it, it's going to be just me on the bike, or it's not going to be loaded
Yeah.
down, one or the other. The bike will be 100 pounds lighter next time I go through there.
See, So you're saying your wife is a tiny thing?
She's not a big girl. She's not a small girl. She's just right for me, like a bike, just right for me.
Perfect.
But yeah, it's. I had the bike. The BMW has a adjustable suspension, so I had it up as high as it would go to account for me, 3 days worth of camping gear and riding gear and her.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
were
I
that
wouldn't want to do
high.
that kind of road that
Yeah,
loaded. No. Yeah.
it was intimidating, absolutely, and it had just been raining too, so it rained the entire weekend. So yeah, I can say I did it now. I can say I did it, which is more
Yeah.
than most people can say, and even people that have tried it. I know one guy who's wrecked twice on that same road, on those same curves.
Oh wow.
So he's a good rider too,
Yeah.
but stuff happens.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, yeah, we've been going at this for a while, and I know I'm supposed to call my kids soon.
I will let you go. So all you guys out there in YouTube land, if you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. If you're not following Robin the Lady Biker, go follow her on her Instagram, her YouTube, and so throw out all of your socials there. It's just Robin
Yeah,
the Lady Biker on all of them, right?
Robin Lady Biker. Yeah, they're my primary formats are YouTube and Instagram. I am on Facebook, but I check in. I do that more for personal stuff and to stay connected with events with Glow and whatnot. But if you're trying to connect with me, it's usually through YouTube or through IG.
Right on.
And yeah, it's growing. You know, I'm still a nano channel, but the beauty of being still the size that I am is it allows me the opportunity to really engage and get to know people and followers, because it's how I met so many people. Like my friend Gwen that was on here, we had met through IG. And when my mom and dad and I were riding through West Texas, and she's like, "Oh, come on by," and we did. We rode into Alpine, Texas, and spent an evening with Gwen, and it was just a neat way to meet someone. So yeah.
Yeah, it's cool to have a smaller channel because you can still be fluid and you can still find your feet. I've seen a lot of creators that they start up and all of a sudden they're huge because they have something everybody's looking for, and then as soon as they change their recipe, everybody drops off. People stop following them. They stop subscribing. So it's cool to be this small and be able to play with things, and you're not upsetting a whole lot of people. You can finally find your niche, and when you take off on it, then you're standardized. You standardize yourself, and I think that's probably the hardest thing about being a creator is finding how you want to do things and then sticking to it. But,
yeah, and the organic growth is frustrating, but it's also a blessing. So
yeah, I know you got to get to your kids. So I'm going to let everybody else go, and then I'll say my goodbyes to you. So just hang on for just a few more. So again, if you guys haven't already subscribed to us both, subscribe to us both, like us both, comment to us both, and hit that bell. Thank all you guys for coming out, and enjoy what's left of your weekend. Bye-bye.